As a former collegiate student athlete, I started the Athlete's Mindset with one goal in mind: to create a platform where athletes can share their stories, speak honestly about the mental side of their sport, and shed a light on the challenges and triumphs that often go unseen. This podcast is about more than stats and highlights. It's about the journey, the growth, and the mindset it takes to keep going. Today on the Athlete's Mindset, I'm joined by Jake Thieneman, a former walk-on at Purdue who turned relentless hard work into an NFL opportunity. After walking on in 2014, Jake earned a scholarship and became a 2-year starter and team captain. Despite going undrafted, he signed free agent contracts with the Giants, Colts, and eventually the 49ers. Along the way, he overcame multiple injuries and setbacks that tested his physical and mental resilience. Now, Jake pours that same mindset into helping others. He co-founded All In Performance with his brother Brennan, where they help former athletes and professionals lose fat, build muscle, and strengthen their discipline with real, sustainable results. In this episode, we talk about Jake's story, the power of mindset, overcoming adversity, and how he's built a platform to impact others far beyond football. Let's get into it. Jake, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good, man. I'm good. Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, absolutely. I saw you on social media and just loved your story, loved your journey, and wanted to hear more about it. So with that, can you talk a little bit about your journey going from a walk-on at Purdue in 2014 to becoming an undrafted free agent in the NFL and just kind of your football career in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So the short 2-minute version, like you said, I walked on at Purdue back in 2014, worked my way up, had several coaching changes, had 9 surgeries in that time. So a lot of adversity, a lot of setbacks. Eventually got my scholarship, was named a team captain, 2-year All Big Ten honoree, and had a decent career there. Was given an opportunity in the NFL as an undrafted free agent, spent a year, bounced around a couple of teams, ended up on the 49ers, and went to the Super Bowl with them back in February of 2020. So went from the Spark Notes went from walk on to the Super Bowl, bottom to the top. So didn't have an extremely long, NFL career like I would have hoped to, but the lessons that I pull out from the story, it's more of like what I overcame in order to get there. So that's kind of the 200 level view.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. What was kind of your mindset, starting as a walk-on, kind of having to build your way up from the bottom? I know a lot of athletes kind of struggle with, should I walk on somewhere? Or should I go somewhere where maybe I'm not going to start out as the top dog? What was kind of your thought process just going into every day, trying to make your way up to what you became?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I would say it started with a decision to walk on. So I had some opportunities at some smaller schools, like one FCS school, a couple D2, D3 schools, and could have gone there, could have had a great career there. If I would have went to one of those schools and been a 4-year All-American, right? Like unbelievable career, I would have always asked myself for the rest of my life, what if? What if I'd have taken that shot? What if I could have been that guy? I grew up a Purdue fan. So I grew up dreaming of playing in the Big Ten. And so it was kind of doesn't matter how good I was somewhere else, I would have always questioned and had that doubt of what if I would have taken that shot on myself. And so I couldn't have lived with that. And, I'm a regret minimizer, right? So I'm trying to minimize the amount of regrets that I have long term. So I knew I had to take the shot and bet on myself. And so that was kind of the decision of going into walk on. So now that I made the decision to walk on, what's the mindset going into it? Well, I didn't have like crazy expectations. I came in thinking that, if I work my way up, play a little special teams, maybe rotate in on defense, like that was good. I checked that box. I did it from where I was starting. And so with that, like kind of regret minimization mindset, if I went in and I gave it half of what I had or 3/4, I worked hard, but maybe not everything I had, I would still ask myself that question for the rest of my life. Like, dang, like, what if I would have like applied myself fully? What if I gave it everything I have? What if I went all in, didn't leave anything else in the tank? And so that was kind of the mindset of when you have more to give, when you have more gas in the tank, when you could go harder, when you could work harder, that is what eats away at you in the back of your mind. That is where that fear, doubt, anxiety comes from. it comes from that place of like knowing you could do more, knowing you could be better, knowing that you're selling yourself short of your potential. And so that was just how I approached it of every single day, I'm just going to give it everything I have, leave nothing else in the tank so that even if it doesn't work out in the end, I don't play a single snap or a single down. I know I gave it everything that I had and I could sleep peacefully at night.
Yeah, I think I love the regret minimization. Just make sure that you're giving everything you got, and it'd be a waste of time if you didn't. Don't go out there and half-ass it, and then just look back and say, "I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done more." So I think that's awesome, and that was something even I, as an athlete, kind of struggled with. My first 2 years, I went to Cal State Fullerton and played baseball, and really struggled. Didn't play a whole bunch, and I felt like I just kept working hard. I was like, I need to do this. Like, I need to, I might not pay off, but I was always thinking, like, if I look back at this and think, well, I gave it my all and I didn't get the outcome, how would I feel if I just didn't give it my all and I just have no idea what could have been? So I think
Mhm.
that's a great way to just live. You said you had quite a few injuries. What was kind of your mindset going through those injuries and going through the rehab process? And were there any doubts then about coming back better, or what was your thought process there?
Yeah, yeah. So it kind of it the mindset, the mentality with the injuries built over time. So I had my first one in spring of my true freshman year, and I broke a bone in my foot. Surgery, screw put in, and so like that was so early. I was like, well, this is just this is just a little bit of adversity. It's just something to overcome. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to fold because of this. Now that fall, my redshirt freshman year, I wasn't getting any sort of opportunity or looks, and my mindset got like pretty down. And I remember thinking to myself, because I was getting pain in my other foot in the same spot where I broke the first one. And I remember thinking to myself, if I broke my foot, I would quit. And it was like, it's weak, right? It's a
Yeah.
weak mindset. It's, I would have folded at that point. But I was just frustrated with the process, as I'm sure you were frustrated in your own process of just not getting the looks and not getting any opportunity and not seeing a light for that to change either. Because like there's so much out of your control with sports of like there's a coach, there's a person making the decision on who plays and doesn't, and that comes with their own bias, their own politics or whatever. And so when you're fighting that, you feel like so much is out of your control. So the only thing that you can do is focus on what's in your control, and that's the mindset and the work and everything that you put into it every day. So I didn't break my foot then. Coaching changed in the spring, so now things shifted a little bit for me. I had like just renewed motivation and drive. And so I looked at every setback as adversity that was making me stronger. So every time something came up, some setback, some challenge, some injury, a surgery, like whatever it was, I just looked at it as this is making me stronger because I'm overcoming more. This is going to be part of the story that I tell someday on a stage or on a podcast about what I overcame in order to get to where I got. So the adversity either breaks you or it makes you stronger. And so every time something came up and it just kept building, kept building, kept building, and they got like progressively worse and harder recoveries and all of that. Um, that was just kind of how I viewed it. And I was picking up momentum over time with that. So like if we were to like graph it, like I'm getting better, like setback, I'm getting better, setback, I'm getting better, setback. There's setbacks along the way, but the general trend is still up and to the right. And so when you're feeling that momentum, it is like invigorating. Like the setbacks hurt, but I was like, well, I've come so far from where I started, I can't stop now. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I think that's a great way to look at it. I mean, because I think once you do have an injury, I mean, I broke my leg and I have a rod in my leg now. And I think for the first few months, all it was doubt. Like, am I going to come back better? Um, am I going to be as good? Am I going to be able to continue to do what I love? But I think you can take it the other way too, which is way more positive, way better. Is just this is going to be the coolest story ever once I do this. And this is a setback. And like you said, you're still trending up. So you don't have to just get back to where you were. You can get even farther ahead of that and just have even more success. So I think that's a great way to look at it. It's just how cool is this story going to be when I have this adversity now and I overcome that and I'm still trending up. So I think that's great. I want to talk about playing safety a little bit. I played quarterback in high school, so I'm not a huge fan of safeties, but
Mhm.
what was kind of your mindset at safety, just every play and just being almost just the leader of the defense?
That's exactly what it is. So safety is the quarterback of the defense.
Yeah.
you know, the safeties and the quarterbacks kind of in a chess match against each other. So that was how I saw it. I liked being all the way in the back running the show and kind of making sure all the pieces were in the right place in front of me. Making sure that guys were lined up properly, making sure they were making the right calls, the right checks, all of that stuff, all the things that run smoothly in order to make plays. So that was kind of my mindset with it. You never win, you don't win the game on any one play. It's just about continuing to play, continuing to play. So even when like setbacks come up, like I personally get burned, or someone else gets burned, or there's a big mistake, or like the QB's about to run out of bounds short of the first down, but the D lineman clips him out of bounds. Now we
Yeah.
get a, it's like those are horrible. Or the worst one was when you get a 3-and-out on defense, you get off the field, which is like it's funny because offense wants to play as much as possible. Defense
Yeah.
doesn't want to play as little as possible.
Yeah.
You get off the field, it's like we did it, let's go. You sit down on the bench, then offense goes 3-and-out. You got to get right back out there again.
Yeah.
It's just like looking at the game as more of like a long-term chess match. You're not going to win any one player, one drive, and just understanding that like each play is a new opportunity. That was kind of how I viewed safety.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. And like you said, you're the quarterback of the defense. So you got a lot to worry about and a lot on your plate. Um, how did you transition mentally going from, becoming a starter and then into your last year at Purdue where you had an unbelievable season? How do you think you got better? Where do you think you had the most growth in your game going from your freshman year to 2017?
I would say confidence was the big one. I struggled with I kind of always have struggled with self-confidence. Uh, and so that was the big thing that changed was I had undeniable proof that I was making plays. So it's like I had undeniable proof that, I was who I thought I could be or who I would say I was. Um, I think a lot of athletes get stuck in, I'll call it delusion of they're not able to see themselves objectively for how they are, how good they are, or how bad they are. And so then they have blind spots in their game. And so then they're not, because they don't see themselves in the true light of where they actually stand, they're not able to work on those areas. And so you get the guys that, like talk a lot and they think they're way better than they are. And then they have holes in their game and they don't get played or their careers don't turn out the way they want. I was kind of the opposite of like my confidence kind of lagged way behind my playing ability. And so like what changed was once I finally got into that starter role, I earned it. I got my scholarship. There was a lot of validation that came along with that. And so the confidence just went through the roof. And then that continued to build throughout that 2017 season as we won games, as I made plays. It's like, okay, like I'm here. I'm playing in the Big Ten. Like I made it, quote, so to speak. And so that was the biggest change was the self-confidence.
Yeah. I myself struggle with it as well. And I think a lot of younger athletes do, where their confidence is almost so results driven. Like they'll believe in themselves once they have this amount of success or once this happens. And I think you just have to have that unwavered confidence. And those are the guys that are the best. I've spoken with a lot of professional baseball players and they're just like, yeah, we're going to have an 0 for 4 day at the plate. I can't just think I'm terrible because of that result. Like I still know I've had success in the past and we just need to build off of it. So I think that's one of the biggest things is don't have your confidence be so results driven, and that'll just set you up for success. So when things are going wrong, you still believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
It's a tough line to walk too.
Yeah.
It's a tough line to walk too because you have to have that high self-image where you can see yourself being that incredible athlete or whatever other like business relationships. Like you can see yourself being that high level person, but the humility to see yourself for where you are actually, and then how to work to bridge that gap. If you have like too low of a view of yourself where you don't see that you could be that starter or that player or that baller, then you'll never get there. So you have to like see that you could be there and believe it, but also be honest with yourself about where you are. So it's kind of a tough line to walk.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like you said, you maybe didn't think that you were as good as you were, and then you get the scholarship and you become a starter and things like that. So there were other people, there were coaches, teammates, everyone that was seeing in you great things, and maybe you hadn't even seen that in yourself yet. So I think one of my favorite things is if you talk to a friend, like you talk to yourself, they would probably punch you in the face. Like so many people have so much just
Hmm.
negative talk and self-talk, when in reality they're so much better than they may think they are in their own head. But like you said, it's a fine line because you don't want to be too low on yourself, or you don't want to be, thinking you're the greatest of all time when you haven't put in the work or you haven't done anything to get there yet. Yeah. I want to talk to you about just what do you think separates the average athletes from the great ones, mindset wise?
I think it's how they view the process and the work of becoming that exceptional athlete. I think average athletes enjoy being an athlete and all the benefits that come along with that. Being the guy that plays, that gets seen, that gets clout, that gets social status, maybe makes money professionally. There's a lot of ancillary benefits that come along with being an athlete. Even gear, guys play for gear. Uh, it, you know, so it comes down to like the reasons why you're playing. If you're playing for being an athlete, like the lifestyle that comes with being an athlete, versus like the exceptional guys are just competitors. They just want to win. They hate losing so much that they'll do whatever it takes to not lose, not even trying to win, just not lose. And they view the work, the actual like work that you're putting in is the part that they love. They love the process of becoming that exceptional person, not just the outcome. So it's like an input versus output. It's the work versus like the work that's going into it versus the outcome of being that person. So you got to focus on the inputs.
Yeah, I think a lot of young athletes now almost want to show that they're good. They want other people to look at them and think, "Oh, wow, like that guy's good. Here's a picture of him on the field." Little does it was a blowout game and it was one, special teams kickoff or something like that.
Yeah,
So I feel like there's a huge difference between just having the humility, like I'm not where I'm at now, and I love the process, and going into every day and just growing. Because when I first, got to college, I thought if I go and hit every single day, I'm going to be great. But I wasn't working on the right things. I was just going there and kind of going through the motions. I was like, this is going to make me great. And it wasn't until I realized, like, what do I have to work on and what can I improve in my process to get to where I want to be? And I think that's something that a lot of young athletes and collegiate athletes struggle with right now.
100%,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Um, So let's talk a little bit about your transition from your playing days. So you're in the Super Bowl, which is just unbelievably cool. And then you're done playing. What was kind of your transition like, and what do you think you wish you would have done differently?
Yeah. So the post sports transition is a little bit different for everyone. Some people it's harder than others. For me, it was pretty brutal. So went to the Super Bowl February 2020, March of 2020. Whole world goes to shit. We had a little pandemic that broke out.
Yeah.
Then I get injured, which is going to be my ninth surgery. So now I'm not healthy. And then with the draft coming around, them just roster shifts combined with rosters being limited due to COVID. They had like 20 less guys in the offseason roster. I was clipped. And so that was the dagger that ended it. And so then started the process of how do we transition into what's next? Because of everything I went through to get to that point, and then like briefly getting to live, life as an NFL player and getting to experience like the top of the experience going to Super Bowl, which felt that all felt incredible. But my entire identity was wrapped up in being an athlete, being a football player. So that was entirely of how I viewed myself. So when I no longer had that, it just felt like a shell of my former self, of who I used to be. And I really resisted that, resisted like the new reality of this is post sports now. And because of that, just a lot of internal struggle, a lot of pain. Definitely went through like a couple years of pretty deep depression until I kind of, got out of it and transitioned into it. So like it's been five years now, and it's been like a journey through that. The first couple years were pretty brutal, and then you start to like take steps down the right path. You start to figure out like what are your new interests, start to kind of like rediscover like the person that you are outside of sports or after sports. And then you start to, walk down that path a little bit more. And so it's been a lot. It's been an interesting journey. I would say like in hindsight, the things that like how not to do it. Don't rush it. Don't like understand it is going to be a process. Like there is going to be a transition process, and that's okay. And it's like harder for some people than it is for other people, and that's okay. Um, it's going to be a journey to like discover what that next thing that you poured yourself into is, whether that's professionally, whether it's like a relationship, whether it's, just discovering how to stay in shape after sports. That's something a lot of people struggle with, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Um, so like understand it's going to take time. Don't put pressure on yourself. Don't start a company and then throw everything that you have into that in the hopes that you can then get back to that status that you were at previously. Then be super hard on yourself for years when you're not there. That's kind of what I did. Um, don't just kind of push down all of the emotions that you're feeling and not feel them, and just pour yourself into work, hoping that will be the solution because it will bubble up eventually. Yeah, I would say those are kind of some of the spark notes I would say for how not to transition to life after sports.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way. I think the toughest part was I went from being on a team, being with a group of guys who we were with each other every day, whether it was practice or we had a game, and it felt important. I would be up in the box, I'd be up to bat, and I'm just thinking all these guys in the dugout, like they want me to succeed. Like it's important to me to make sure that I don't let them down. And so that's the biggest thing is I feel like once I was done, I was like, who am I important to? Like, where's my importance? Before I had a group of guys behind me that I didn't want to let down. And now I'm just like I started my first job and I was like, all right, well, like it doesn't feel like the sports like team aspect. And I just like was like, where is my importance? And also, where are you going to get the feeling of, you're done playing football. You're not going to make that big pass breakup on third down or that big hit up the middle. And so where do you get kind of those like adrenaline rushes and those feelings from? Because I was like, I'm never going to hit a home run again. And those were like the highest of highs. And so I think that's one thing is just like, where can you find that importance? While also, staying positive. Like you said, it can get tough. And I felt the same way, like depressed. I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Because my identity was a baseball player. That's kind of just how I felt.
Dude, without a doubt, you hit on like the two biggest things is the camaraderie and accountability that comes with being in a team environment. Like those locker room moments, man. Like those are the best. Those are the things that you miss the most. And so like how can you recreate that and find something new and, get in with, a good group of friends that you're still hunting with or something, like finding what that next thing is. And then the adrenaline side of it is tough too. Cause like the games are, like you said, hitting home runs is such a high, making plays is such a high. So like finding what that other thing is, where is that outlet for, whether it's like aggression or outlet for that competition, that competitive spirit. I found it. I moved to Denver for a couple of years, and my brother and I, we just ripped dirt bikes in the mountains and skied all winter. So it's like huge adrenaline rushes there. And then just playing in like rec league sports was just kind of enough to scratch that itch for a little bit of competitiveness. Those are a couple of things that I found too.
Yeah, I've gotten into hunting a little bit. My family's always hunted, but I just was always, in school, had baseball, so I didn't really have time. And so now I've gotten into that. And I mean, that's another thing, just like gets the adrenaline. And then, as every former baseball player does, they obsess over golf. So obviously, I'm golfing just every weekend, and I'm not good, but it's something I can work on. And I think that's another cool thing is, as a former athlete, you have to find something that you can have kind of that process again, like something you can work on and continue to get better, because I think that can be a struggle as well.
Yeah, golf's definitely one of those, man. It's a lifetime continual process of trying to be less bad.
Yeah, one less pad is absolutely right. What's up, everyone? It's Tristan. Whether I'm recording a podcast, training, or just trying to stay sharp throughout the day, hydration matters. That's why I partnered with Relight by Redmond. My two go-tos were mixed berry and lemon lime. And they have great ingredients, taste great, no problems at all, and just keeps me fresh throughout the entire day. Relight has helped me stay focused, energized, and ready to go, whether I'm hitting the gym, deep into an episode, or just living day-to-day life. They also have a great pre-workout blueberry lemonade, or peach mango that gets you ready if you need a little extra kick before you hit the gym. If you want to try Relight for yourself, use the discount code Athletes Mindset for 15% off. I'll drop the link in the bio and in the description, and you can get a good taste of what Relight's all about. So, can you talk about All In Performance and just kind of how you started that and what your mission and goal was when you first started?
Yeah, absolutely. So All In Performance is a comprehensive fitness coaching company. We coach more than just fitness, but we start with fitness because fitness is the foundation for being the best version of yourself. If you don't have your physical health, what do you have? So it was started last year, and through sports, and I'm sure you got this a lot. Like people ask you, like, do you ever want to coach? You ever want to get into coaching? And I don't know what you said. I was always like, no, I do not want to be a coach. I do not want to get into coaching. And it's funny how things work out. And so like over the years, friends, family members, like people always ask you for like workout programs, nutrition advice, different things like that. And so you always help those people and help out there. And then last summer was kind of in a transition point for what I was doing and was, exploring different routes to go down. A friend hit me up at that time asking for some help fitness wise. So I was like, sure, I'll hop in. And I had spent time previously like working for a fitness coaching company. So I got to see like the inner workings, how it worked, all that stuff. And even after that, I was like, not something I want to do. But friend asked me, so I decided to help him and wrote a plan, full meal plan, everything that he would need, checked in with him periodically and, went through the process. He lost 20 pounds in like 6 weeks, like incredible transformation there. He sent me a text one day, super long book of a text, just talking about his transformation and what it meant and how much it meant to him. I mean, it wasn't talking about like, oh, I lost 20 pounds of fat or, I'm eating right. It was talking about like how he felt and he had energy and he had confidence and like with his clothes on and just like taking a shirt off around the pool and the confidence, the clarity, like the mental health benefits, like everything that's not physical. And he was basically saying like, I changed his life. And that message hit me really hard. Cause I was not expecting that at all. And going through the post football transition that we just talked about, I had kind of like a renewed, I guess like empathy for that kind of situation. Cause I went through that myself. And so like to go from like the highs of being in sports and then the lows of the transition and then like back to the high of like being yourself again, it was like night and day. It was like a holy shit moment. And then I was like, I can help do that for other people. That was kind of like the switch that flipped. And so that was late last summer. So last fall was when All In Performance was started. And just started, sharing some things on my Instagram story, posting some things that for people that might be interested. Got the first couple clients from there, got those clients' results, and then shared those results. And then it's just slowly built from there over time. In January, my younger brother, Brennan, who has the same story as me, by the way, walk on all the way through. We played together at Purdue, which was super fun. We're partnered on this company. And so he joined the team as well. And we've just been growing slowly and steady ever since. And it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's just been an incredible experience so far.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think the biggest impact you can make on yourself is making a positive impact on someone else. And I think a lot of people slowly learn that. And I think that's kind of what I've kind of came to understand after I got done playing. I was like, what makes me happy? Like, what do I enjoy? And I think, like you said, is like once you hear that you made an impact and someone else is, feeling better and they got the results that they were looking for, I think that makes it so much easier to just continue every day and just do what you do.
100%, dude, 100%. Like when I get messages from clients and see the way that like they're improving and changing their lives, like it gives you so much energy. Like that, similar to that feeling of playing and making plays. Like, oh, like someone like made a big change. And again, it's like we focus on the physical aspect, and that could be for vanity, that could be for health reasons, like whatever. Like we don't judge on that. But all of the other benefits that people unlock with that is what's really cool. Like they drop 20 pounds, they feel better, they move better. and they're doing better at work and they got a promotion because it's like they're unlocking that growth mindset that maybe they had previously, but it got life just beat it out of them. Um, Helping people facilitate that change and then see them better all the other areas of their life is what's really cool.
Yeah. I started working out just right when I got done playing it. I started, instead of lifting like an athlete, trying to lift like a bodybuilder. So it's been a little bit different. Um,
Mhm.
but the biggest takeaway, I think, is if I have a week or something where I'm super busy or not able to work out, I almost feel a little bit more anxious, feel like I haven't done enough. But once I do have a week where I'm consistently working out and eating healthy, it just makes me think like I can do hard things. Like I can go to the gym, I can lift heavy, I can push myself. So once I can do hard things in the gym, it just reminds me I can do hard things elsewhere. If there's a conversation I need to have, or if it's something at work that's, not going to be super easy, I know that I push myself to do hard things, and so I can do it elsewhere. And I think that's one of the coolest things about getting in shape and just going to the gym consistently.
100%, dude. 100%. You get so much momentum from it. So I say is like motivation is fleeting, discipline is finite, but momentum compounds. So motivation gets you started, discipline keeps you going in that initial hard phase. But once you get that feedback loop of like that first look in the mirror when you notice you're like, oh, I look different, or you get like an unsolicited compliment from somebody else, or just like whatever goal you hit that first milestone of like, oh, like I made a change. It's like you have all of the momentum in the world moving in the right direction. And it's like it becomes almost addictive of like you just want to keep making progress. You want to keep moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. What advice or just tips do you have for um, maybe just people or former athletes specifically that maybe struggle to get in the gym or eat healthy or just kind of find that discipline and motivation? What are just some tips you would have for those kinds of people?
100%. So being a former athlete, like one of the things to understand is you went from a system that had a ton of structure. You had coaches, you had strength staff, you had teammates around you, all keeping you accountable. You were competing with guys on your team to be that guy. You were still friends, but you're competing. You want to be better. You win the starting job, hopefully, and then you're going to compete against other teams. And so there's all this competition for why you were doing what you were doing. And so you trained in order to be better at that. When you remove all of that, we talked about some of the mental aspects of like you're feeling alone. You also don't have the same goals, accountability, and structure around you for your fitness. And so like this happened to me, this happens to a lot of people, is like you just fall off. Like you just don't care as much. You're not trained like an athlete, you train like a bodybuilder now. You're just trying to look
Yeah,
good for the beach or the pool or
exactly. Yeah.
another, whatever it is, which is cool. But it's different. So one, understanding that it is going to be different. It's going to be a transition. Two, finding like what your new goals are, like set like specific goals. Before it was probably sports performance related. Set like a super vanity driven goal for you just want to like look good in the mirror, and then set a goal outside of that for either health or performance. Could be something trackable from performance. It could be you want to like a lot of people run marathons or whatever. Not saying that, but like that's just an example. Or bodybuilding competition. It doesn't have to be that extreme. It could be something as easy as like you want to jog a 5K or something. Set another goal that you can drive towards. So now you've got a North Star that you're aiming for. And then take the smallest possible step that you can that is still progress in the right direction. So the big thing I preach is just progress over perfection. If you take one small step every day or even every week, like in 6 months to a year, it's going to be a dramatic difference. So sometimes what happens is like they'll stretch themselves like a rubber band. And so when you like, say you have a rubber band and you stretch it super far, it's either going to snap or it's going to snap back into place. And so when you try to go from, say you're out of shape into like, okay, now I'm getting 10,000 steps a day. I'm working out 5 days a week. I meal prep everything. I drink all my water and I sleep. That's going to last like 3 weeks. Or maybe it lasts 6 months and you make a dramatic change. But then in 3 years time, where are you going to snap back to? I would say like take the timeline that you have for your goals, double it, and then take small steps along the way. That way it's a less dramatic change, but your mindset, your habits, and your identity keep up with who you are as you're making that transformation. because that's the reason that people snap back after is, and this happens like a lot with coaching programs, like 90 to 95% of people that make a transformation are back to where they were before starting 3 years later. That's because like, yeah, like you make a dramatic transformation in like 3 to 6 months because you have all of your external accountability, or you have a coach like me that's pushing you. But then once you're back on your own, you're going to just resort to that person that you were before if you don't make the mindset and the identity change to that new person. And so the better way to do that is just take it low and slow. Small steps along the way that stack up into big changes down the line.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think, like you talked about, in sport, there's always a goal. It's, to get the starting job, or once you're on the field, it's to beat whoever you're going against. And so when everything's so goal oriented and you have so much structure, it's easy to just go with that and go with the flow and continue to progress. But then once you're kind of on your own, once you're done playing, you have to create your own goals. You have to make your own things. And so I think that can be something that people really struggle with, like you said. And one thing I've noticed just about myself is if I do have a week where maybe I'm not in the gym as much, I only go 1 or 2 times a week, it's so much harder to get back into the gym the following week. But once I'm like kind of on a roll, like I go like 4 or 5 times and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Like I get done with work, I go to the gym now. Like the momentum is just unbelievable. And I think that's something that helps a lot of people is once they, recognize their new identity, like who do I want to be? What are my goals? And then they get in that rhythm and they just go and go.
100%, dude, with that 100%.
Yeah. So I end every conversation with the same question. If you could go back and give your younger self just one piece of advice about the mental side of sports and maybe something you would have preferred to do better, what would that be?
Is this for what would I tell myself or what would I tell anyone?
Yourself.
So myself, and I'm big on self-awareness. So you gotta know and understand yourself. So what I would tell myself is trust yourself. You got this. You can do it. And that's because what we talked about before with like self-confidence kind of lagging behind ability. As like I had these big goals and I was working for it, but there was all of this like low confidence, doubt, uncertainty, and because of that, stress and anxiety that was just really unnecessary. And so like that's what I would tell myself: just trust yourself. You got this.
Yeah.
You're gonna make it. It's gonna be all good.
Yeah. So kind of along with that, what would you tell someone, maybe a high school athlete or someone that, you've already gone through it of, playing, college football and everything. What would you tell the younger generation? Maybe something they struggle with or something you've seen that you wish you would have done better.
What I would tell the younger generation is just like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So many limitations exist just inside our minds. They're completely mental. And they're just made up. They're just not real. So like dream bigger, but work for it. So like you can accomplish anything that you want if you're willing to put in the work, effort, and sacrifice in order to achieve it. So I think people hear that and are like, yeah, but I don't think it like sinks in that like it is actually possible until you break down some barrier, mental block, limiting belief, or you achieve some goal that maybe was tough or you didn't think was possible. And then that unlocks like everything else. Like, oh, I can like get better. I can do things. I think you need that first like big win that unlocks everything else for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, Jake, I just want to thank you again for coming on. I loved your story and I'm wishing you the best of luck with all in performance and just the impact you're making. So thank you again.
Dude, no, and I appreciate you for having me on, man, giving me a platform to share my story. And I like what you're doing as well with helping athletes share their stories, the positive sides of it. So that's really cool, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Thanks, Jake. Thank you to Jake for sharing his journey and insight into the mental side of the game. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who would find it valuable. Thanks for tuning in and keep moving forward. Until next time.